Hello.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, I thank you both for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah, of course. It's so nice to talk to you in person, considering we've been Facebook friends for a while, so it's not through text.
Oh yeah, totally. And it's so great to be able to talk and be able to promote such a great album that's coming out in just a couple weeks now, and having the chance to be able to really dissect this album from start to finish. I just really love what Empress is all about.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Like it.
Well, not a problem. So, with that in mind, like, how did this whole band come together?
So, Vlad, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So, what is it? About 4 or 5 years ago at this point, our drummer, Mark, sent a message out to a couple of friends looking to start jamming. He sent a message out to myself and Joe, our other guitar player. We started jamming in his basement. I had a pretty clear idea of sort of what direction I wanted to go in. And we did some writing, we did some jamming. We didn't have a singer or a bass player, it was just the three of us. And then when we had a little bit of material, we started trying folks out. We tried several different kinds of vocalists out until we found Barbara, who basically walked into the room, and as soon as she started singing, we kind of knew. She, since at this point it was three guys in the basement, she brought Nick with her in the name of safety, which makes total sense. And at one point one of us had mentioned, well, now all we need is a bass player. And I think Nick piped up with, well, I play bass. All right, you want to bring your bass in next week? And that was that. That was the beginning of Empress.
Oh, it's great how it can happen like that as well too. Just like, getting to know everybody and being able to jam out together and realizing that the musical chemistry is there. And then when you're able to finalize everything, then you realize like the real power of what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So with that in mind, I mean, when you finally all got together and started playing, what was that like? Like with the full lineup, what was that like for the first time to really be able to jam out like that?
It's sort of even like hard to put into words, honestly, because it felt great. It felt right. And it also felt very surreal because, like I said, when we started doing this, I mean, I guess we all had an idea of what we were going to sound like in our head or what we wanted to do, but what we're doing is basically exactly what I had hoped to do. And so to see it actually happening, it was really pretty incredible, honestly.
Oh, that's so cool to hear, especially when you're able to get the vision that you're looking for, and when you can get people who share that same vision and want to be able to help transcribe that and make it this great collective that's become Empress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of us have brought something into the band, some influence, some part of what they like, what they're feeling, and what it is not solely mine or solely Barbara's. It's all of us. So.
Yeah, and that's so important too. I mean, when you can have that, when you're sharing that same vision, but you're all also able to really encompassate it, where you can make sure that everyone has their say. It's the vision that they want to be able to make. They're able to incorporate their influences, and you can really tell throughout this entire album that, you know, it's just like it does have that, it does maintain that core sound of what the band is all about, but there's a lot of great diversity that goes on throughout it as well.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I feel like diversity is something that we really pride ourselves on. So it's really awesome to hear that.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, especially when it comes into the lyrical content as well, because I did a couple interviews today already, and it's like really dark music that I've been covering, with a lot of like themes of like death and destruction and stuff like that. And then when I put on Empress and hear like the polar opposite, where it just sounds so positive in retrospect, you know, it's just like it's so full of life, it's very inspiring music, and it's great to hear that, you know, it's just like really is showing off a great positive in a genre like this.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I mean, that's something that's always been very important to me, is to uplift and inspire people. I think that life has a way of beating us all down in one way or another. And when I listen to music, I personally seek escape. So when I listen to music, of course, like I do enjoy some darker subject matter, but like, I don't know, but when I write music, when I write lyrics, I want to, you know, kind of take people out of that, kind of give them something to escape into. That's nice for a little bit.
And thinking about that as well too, I mean, obviously when a band is just forming and you're just getting the sound of what you're looking for, and everything's going in the right direction, like for you specifically, when it comes into the lyrical concepts, like how do you approach it when you're hearing the songs for the first time and gathering ideas of what you want to be able to approach vocally?
Yeah, it's really funny when it comes to like, you know, whenever I hear like the structure of the song or whatever, like the basic outline, mostly what ends up happening is I kind of just make like mouth sounds. I just kind of sing along. And the melody usually comes first. And then maybe eventually, like as I start singing a certain vowel, that will shape itself into a word. So I almost feel like there's like a subconscious informing of what the song is going to be like from there. So let's say eventually it becomes like moon or something, I can end up turning the song into something kind of fun about like vampires, or it can go the opposite way where it's kind of about just like introspection and you know, the kind of like peace that you get at night or something like that. So yeah, like, lyrically, I feel like when I'm writing, I don't really know what a song's gonna be about. I kind of let, even though it sounds kind of like funny to say, I kind of let this song tell me.
That actually does make a lot of sense, because, you know, especially from the chords, the melodies, drum fill, I mean, there's so many different things that you can be inspired by, and it can invoke so many different kinds of emotions or subject matters that, you know, just like hearing one particular part might be able to like set everything in place for what you want to be able to sing about later.
Yeah, exactly. No, totally.
So, you know, again, like thinking about this, you know, just like the formation of everything and getting all things together, like when did it start happening where like the full songs were coming into place, and you know that everything was like going in the right direction to be able to have songs to be able to get a recording?
I think
So,
that's a Vlad question.
um, so I had, I think by the time I sent that initial message to Barbara, I had 3 songs that were almost there. And I had, I'd sent, I forget which one it was that I sent you, but the music was close to done to about 3 of them. And then the way the writing process has gone is I will either come up with a skeleton of a song based on ideas that I have, or maybe an idea or something like that that comes out in a jam session, or that somebody else contributes, and then we bring it in and we work on it. And we sort of worked on one song at a time. It took longer that way, but I think the product sort of speaks for itself. The approach apparently works. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I mean, we started with complete songs pretty early on and built on that.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, the product speaks for itself, and every song on this album just feels like it's filled with its potential. And it's so great to see that, especially when with this just being a debut album and just like seeing the chemistry that's going on, everyone being able to shine in their own ways throughout this entire album. It really feels like, as strong as you are now, things are just going to get better from here on out musically.
Thank you. Certainly hope to do that. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So with that in mind, I mean, obviously with like getting all the songs down and stuff, and building up enough for being able to put out a full album, what was it like to be able to get things recorded and being able to get things mixed or fully along to be able to go into the studio?
So we had pretty extensive pre-production already done. A lot of it was, well, the pre-production was all done at home. By the time we went into the studio, we basically had pre-production versions of all of the songs. From then on, we knew that we wanted a particular sound, and we found Dan Swano, and his work is amazing, and he was a joy to work with right from the very first email exchange. I had a feeling that this was going to be a great dude to work with. And he sent us some direction on how he preferred to work. And we took his advice. We knew we weren't going to do the drums ourselves, because that's challenging, and also that will make or break an album. So we recorded the drums with Len Carmichael at Landmine Studios. And from that point on, we did the rest of the tracking ourselves. And then, we sent all of our tracks, drums and all of the guitars and the bass and Barb's vocals and all of the orchestration over to Dan, and then he made magic happen. The way the songs sounded in my head when I wrote them, he made them sound even better than that, which is really all and more than I could have asked for.
And yeah, I remember reading that in the press release that Dan Swano was able to put his touches on this album. And even when I heard the album first, before I looked at the press release, the production reminded me of Dan Swano, and the fact that he was able to mix and master it's like I was so happy to see that he was able to put his touches on it. And yeah, he does have that particular way of being able to do his sounds. I know he like goes into like deep detail about like the angle for the microphones, for the drums and the cymbals, and he gets really into detail for what he wants. But just like you mentioned before, the product speaks for itself. He does such a magnificent job for his own work. And when he's able to work with bands such as yourselves, where you can take quality songs and make them even better. And Dan Swano just has that power and magic to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, he really does. He's amazing to work with. I think the reason it worked as well as it did was that we went into it knowing who was going to be doing the mixing. So we were actually able to get his input from the very beginning of the recording process. I'm sure he would have done a fantastic job even if this wasn't the case. But, had we recorded without his instructions, the drums might sound different, not as good, not as easy to work with.
Oh yeah, that totally makes sense. But yeah, again, being able to have a band like this where everyone involved is so talented and so well versed in their crafts, and then you're able to outsource it to someone like Dan Swan to put those final touches on it, really makes for this album to make it a sheer delight to be able to listen to from start to finish. And there's so much you can really dissect with all of the layers, whether you're going musically, whether you're listening to the lyrics, whether you're listening to the production, and you just want to be able to hear all the different layers musically of what's going on. There's so much to love about this album, and when you have the right people behind it, it makes everything so much smoother, and it makes for such a satisfying final product.
No, thanks so much. It means so much to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. So with that in mind, I mean, obviously with being able to hear about how the band started, getting the right people involved to be able to make everyone sound the best they possibly can, and of course the magic of Dan Swano, what was it like to be able to try to decide what songs were going to be getting that representation before the album came out, whether you're doing a full-on music video or you're doing the visualizers? What was it like to be able to choose those songs?
It was definitely a lengthy discussion process. I feel like, these are like all of our babies, and we each have like our favorites and songs that, have particular, special meaning to each one of us. So there was definitely a lot of like roundtable sort of discussions to pick which ones were going to go out and represent us. But honestly, I think like once we kind of had it pinned down to the 3 singles we've released, I think that we all kind of were on board with it. We're like, we think that this shows off the main points that Empress kind of hits upon, because we do try to hit upon several points, and I think we all agreed, we're like, this feels right. These 3 feel like they're right to represent our sound.
Yeah, and thinking about that from the fan perspective, and also being so thankful to be able to check out the album ahead of time, these 3 songs that are released as singles are just a great representation, where they are so different from each other, but they do show off all the different sides of the band. And whether you're doing a visualizer for like Chimera, or you do the full-on videos for Into the Gray and Eventide, it's just like you get to see all these different sides visually as well as audibly, and it's so great to see that.
Yeah, thanks. I feel like, a lot of them, like, especially for a song like Eventide, I know that, I feel like as soon as that was decided upon to be a single, Vlad kind of knew exactly what direction he wanted to take with it, because we mentioned it in a few things, but I feel like a lot of people don't realize that Vlad actually also does our videography, and he storyboarded the whole thing. He filmed it. I mean, when we decided that was one of the singles, he definitely took charge of that, and made it what we've all seen and love now. And same with Into the Gray. It was just kind of like, all right, well, this is our single. And then he kind of just took that idea and he ran with it and made it into this really awesome concept.
Yeah, I really love the visuals for both full-on music videos for that as well, and of course I have the visualizer as well for Chimera, just being able to see the great visuals that go along with that. And yeah, and again, just like I mentioned before, it's just like all 3 are very different songs from each other, but they do really show off what the band is about. And when you're hearing about the band for the first time, and you check out these songs, I know for sure, like when I started seeing the videos and the singles, like it really intrigued me to be able to check out the whole album. And when I finally got to, it was just a great representation, and it made me want to be able to check out the whole thing over and over again.
That's so awesome to hear. That's what we were hoping for. So that really is very encouraging.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that you did have those concepts and ideas in mind for those videos, I mean, it's great to see your vision come through there. I mean, obviously both musically and visually as well too. I mean, the fact that you were able to get these on there and you were able to work on them personally to be able to show off that vision is so cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty incredible thing to be able to get them done. It certainly stretched my skill set. I mean, I had done still photography before, never really any sort of videography. So I learned a lot. This was quite a process, but it was really, really rewarding. And as far to get back to your question as to, you know, how we chose the songs, I mean, I had at least some idea of what I would show visually for these songs very, very early on. And we as a band, we get together and hang out. We are all friends, as well as bandmates. And so in discussion, you know, we brainstormed some ideas, and then I ran with it. But this was very much a collaborative effort. You know, Barbara gives me a lot of credit there, but everybody worked their butts off to get those videos done. So yeah, this was a team effort.
Oh, totally. And but you know, it's just like even if it like started off from you and it was able to branch off throughout the entire band, like you mentioned, like everyone has their part in it. Others are able to have their say if they want to be able to contribute something like that. But you know, just like having like the initial idea and being able to follow through with that and seeing like all the changes that come from working together as a team, as a band, as friends, which is such an important thing. That I think really goes untalked about, or at least not talked about enough, where it's like you want to be friends with the people that you work with. That way you're able to have like the best experience, and you know, there's no resentment that goes on. I mean, you're able to just be open and free with each other. And it really sounds like that's coming through with Empress, where like if anyone has an idea, you're able to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you're in a band, you wind up spending an awful lot of time together, and it really sucks when you can't be friends. And also when people feel like they can't bring something up, that's a problem in any group. So yeah, I'm very thankful that we have an environment where, you know, ideas can be brought up and folks contribute. Nobody has a shortage of ideas here. So
Oh, for sure. And that's got me so excited for the future too. I mean, if this is what you're doing now, then the next collection of songs that comes out in the future, whenever that happens, I'm very excited to see where the band goes from here.
You know,
yeah,
I'm super excited too. I feel like it's one of those things that because everyone has such diverse backgrounds, you know, we all come from, you know, things such as death metal to classical to jazz. I think it's always exciting. There's definitely, like Vlad said, no shortage of ideas. So we're also excited too. I'm, you know, really stoked for the future.
And speaking of that, obviously with the album coming out August 19th, which funny enough happens to be my birthday. So that's a
Oh.
yeah, that'll be a little birthday present myself, being able to check that out as well. What's going to be going on after the release of the album?
So lots of you know, just general promoting, keep trying to get the word out as much as possible. We are definitely looking to play more shows. Some are lined up, some are announced, some are not announced just yet. We have to unfortunately keep under lock and key at the moment, but yeah, there's lots of exciting things brewing. Of course, you know, not to sound like the big things coming soon, but but we, you know, there's a lot going on that we're definitely excited to share post release. There's no lack of content.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm glad to see that the live shows are happening and, you know, obviously stuff to be announced, but the fact that they're being worked on because, you know, again, with being able to check out the whole album, it really feels like this album needs that great live representation. And I'm glad that is in the works.
Oh, for sure, we love playing live, and I think that the Empress live show is something that you know, we do the best that we can to bring the same energy that you get on the album to the stage, and it's super important to us to get that out there and for people to see that and experience the music in that way.
Oh, for sure. And, when more of those opportunities start to come up and whatever way that starts to come up, I'm very excited to hear that it's happening. Hopefully it'll get into my neck of the woods here in Minnesota at some point, whatever happens with that. But, the fact that you are building up those shows, you're building up the chemistry in the band and everything to look forward to in the future. I mean, it really feels like the momentum is growing stronger and stronger with Empress, and it's so great to see that.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's a storm that's been kind of brewing that kind of unfortunately got, we had a little bit of a road bump with the COVID-19 pandemic, just like everyone else. But yeah, it's this little storm that's been brewing now for a little bit. So it's really exciting to kind of finally see it getting unleashed out into the world.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I mean, when something like that happens and you can't predict something like that's ever going to happen, it's just like there's so many negative connotations that can come from it. But one positive to see come from it, and the way that I want to look at it, especially from the Empress point of view, is the fact that the album might not have come out as great as it is had it not been for everything that's come along the way. So, there's the trials and tribulations that come with being in a band and getting everything together and the worldwide things. But, having gone through all of that, seeing this album come out August 19th and just seeing where you are now, it's those hardships that makes the positives so much more rewarding.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And it feels really great to finally have this thing coming out for people to hear. And I think that the waiting makes it the sweeter. So
Oh, absolutely. That's why I'm a little bit spoiled, the fact that I did get to check out the album, and I'm gonna go listen to it again after we finish up here and just like dissect even further into it, because I really love everything that's going on here, both visually, both audibly, everything that's going on. And the fact that you do have such a great sound that I can only imagine is going to be expanded upon and grow stronger and stronger with every year, every release, every live show that happens. And I'm just really rooting for everyone in Empress and just seeing what's going to be happening in the future. And it's just been great to be able to talk to both of you about like the formation of the band all the way up to being able to talk about the things that will be announced in the future.
no, thank you so much. So everything you said really means so much to hear. And like I said, especially having to wait as long as we have to be able to put this thing out, to get feedback like this really means the world to us. And I can't state that enough. So thank you for having us.
Oh, not a problem. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
So we are playing, actually the day of our album release, we'll be playing Mad with Power, which is a power metal festival out in Madison, Wisconsin. So we're very excited for that. Additionally, we have announced an additional show at the end of the month, beginning of September. We're playing with Oceans of Slumber up at Dingbats in Clifton, New Jersey, which is another band that we adore. I'm very excited to share the stage with. Other than that, for like the latest Empress news, you can find us on all of your usual social media channels, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us at Empress Legion. If you can think of a channel, we're on there. And other than that, just stay tuned for more news.
Oh, fantastic. And yeah, both of those. I mean, that festival over in Madison is so cool. And the fact that you're going to be playing with Oceans of Slumber, who put out such a powerhouse of an album last month and is like easily their darkest work, even though it sounds lighter, it is their darkest album to date. And then you have the yin yang, almost kind of polar opposite here with Empress. It's like, for someone like me who loves that variation for concerts and bands that work so well together by being different, that'd be a perfect night.
We're extremely excited. Love them. And I agree. I love that juxtaposition in sound. So I think it's going to be a really fun show for sure.